This is KLEAN Radio.
Welcome Los Angeles. Welcome everybody listening to us around the world on KFWB News Talk 980, our flagship station. Also Extreme Talk, XM Channel 165, or everybody out there listening to us on the World Wide Web at KLEANradio.com. That's clean with a K. Also, you could also live stream us right now if you go to KLEANradio.com, and you could watch exactly what's going on in the studio tonight. The show tonight is also being sponsored by TreatmentLine.com. Andrew, what's cooking? Good looking.
Hey, welcome, Judah. Glad to be back again. Once again, I've been on and off the show. I've been very busy.
Yeah, well, it's life. And we talk about life after sobriety and what a life has given you.
Exactly.
But, there's been a lot of stuff, by the way, in the news this week. So we have an amazing show out there. And one of the things we like to talk about is people getting help and the fun that there is after people get sober. But it's also about, the news hits us all the time with people dying of drug overdoses. And sadly, Sylvester Stallone's, lost his son.
Yeah, that's horrible to hear.
And, and I was reading, the CDC reports every day 100 people die of drug overdoses in the United States of America.
Right. You told me that earlier, and then you said, that means every time someone famous dies, 100 people die. And I go, no, that would be 99.
99, yeah. So Sage Stallone represented...
Typical Judah math.
So he represented 99 people that died that day of a drug overdose. And it's sad that, he died...
Seems kind of like a very, strange number.
It is a strange number.
100.
That is exactly maybe the person the person that came up with that statistic has OCD and he needed the number to be 100. But there was also a very interesting story out there. A couple of years ago, I went to my therapist and I was looking for a psychiatrist, and he gave me somebody's number. And I called up this number, and the guy goes to me, the first thing he said to me was, before he asked me how I was, obviously I'm not doing great if I'm calling a psychiatrist, and he goes, it's $600 for the first hour. And I was like, what?
It's enough to make you go see a psychiatrist.
But aren't you going to ask me what my... So I go back to my therapist, and I tell him the story. He's an amazing therapist, and I tell him the story, and he goes, I guess money, property, and prestige changed him. Because he goes, when I knew him 20 years ago... And that brings us to the topic...
Or 3 kids in college.
Or 3 kids in college, right? 3 triplets in college. And that's the funny Dr. Drew joke, is every time he's on a new show, everybody always goes, well, he's got triplets to support.
Right, and they're all at USC, I guess.
Right.
Or whatever.
But, and the reason I bring this up is because Dr. Drew has saved thousands. I mean, he's saved a lot of people's lives. And I don't think that should be lost on... And, listen...
I've met him. He's a caring individual. And, I don't think his intentions from the beginning...
Why don't we talk about exactly what happened?
Okay, go ahead.
So basically, Dr. Drew was pumping on the air Wellbutrin, which is really an amazing drug that has helped people quit smoking and helps people with depression.
Right.
But
it's an antidepressant.
It's an antidepressant, but he wasn't saying that he was being paid by the pharmaceutical companies to pump the drug.
It's just one of these things. I mean, I've been in the medical field indirectly or directly for a long time, and I don't think there were many nights that went by. At least once a week, there wasn't some sort of pharmaceutical dinner at a high-end restaurant where doctors were invited and other clinicians were invited to have a nice free dinner and hear about the latest drug they were pumping.
Right.
There's been some reforms. I think it's getting better, but clearly I think, this is an example where, and we don't know all the facts,
right.
So, and I don't really want to start.
Again, he's saved, he's done a wonderful job.
Well, but there are conflicts of interest.
Right.
And I think that, there is definitely, whenever you have so much money, I mean, these drugs make billions of dollars. I mean, there's several drugs that are billion-dollar drugs, like just, and Valium was, I think, the first megastar drug. And I think in 1974, it sold like over 2 billion pills in 1 year. So you can just imagine the profits for the company that made it. The big drugs today are antidepressants. They're making a lot of money. They're overprescribed. I don't think anybody really doubts that. And a lot of that, I believe, is because general practitioners are allowed to just dole them out.
Which is absolutely amazing that you could go to your internist and him give you an antidepressant.
Well, yeah. I mean, they would argue differently. A general internist will argue that they have proper training, but they haven't had a psych residency. They don't really.
Why don't you tell people a little bit, just quickly? You've been in the industry for 30 years.
Oh, thanks, Judah.
And you're only 32.
Try 21.
But you've been in the industry for a long time, and you've done it the right way. And right. I think sometimes it's hard. You know, you have a bunch of people that are opening up these businesses, and sometimes compromise happens. And the one field that you really shouldn't be compromising is mental health.
Well, mental health has had a huge stigma. Mental health and addiction, and addiction I think is a subset of mental health. But the industry's had a huge stigma ever since it's been around. I mean, people used to think that people that had mental illness were possessed by the devil, and there's still people that do.
Sadly, yes.
I mean, there's a lot of ignorance out there regarding mental health, and we only know a small portion of really how the brain works and how these diseases occur, and we have cures for very few illnesses. Most we just can treat symptoms. So, depression actually is one that we can actually stop and reverse, and anxiety is another. And so drugs like the latest antidepressants, like Wellbutrin is fairly recent.
Lexapro.
Prozac, on and on, Zoloft. These drugs are great. I mean, I remember
they're great for the people they work, right?
Yeah, the mid 80s, which is quite a while ago, I guess, at this point. But, the best-in-class drugs had horrible, horrible side effects.
Right.
And they last for a long time, and the drugs were not that effective. And, people would have to get into very, very severe states of depression, and then they would do things like ECT, which is electroconvulsive therapy, which actually works very well in the elderly and people with long-term depression.
And I enjoyed it every once in a while. But
stop licking those batteries, Judah.
Before we get to the guest, there's also so last week we had an amazing show. Carrie White, who I love dearly, was in the studio with Jennifer, and we obviously everybody sometimes
Jennifer Jimenez.
Jennifer Easy on the Eyes Jimenez. And
did you come up with that nickname?
Yeah, I did come up with that nickname. And her Twitter followers who are watching tonight and listening love that nickname. But
I have to get a vote on that.
So when Sage Stallone sadly died, I was getting a bunch of tweets.
This is Sylvester Stallone's
son, and I was getting a bunch of tweets with people saying, "Oh, you see, the doctors are giving, the doctors are giving all these meds." And I was trying to explain to people there is a difference between antidepressants that help people with depression and drugs like Vicodin, Percocet, Oxycodone, however you but there is a difference. Just quickly, can you explain why sadly people are lumping these two together?
Lumping opiates with antidepressants?
Opiates with antidepressants.
Yeah. Well, there's several different classifications of drugs, and they all have a different effect. I think that a lot of it's ignorance. I mean, most people don't really study medication or psychopharmacology, as it's called in this case. Most drugs that are addictive are not necessarily psych drugs only. Most of them are for chronic pain. That would be opiates. I mean, they're created to help with pain. Most psychiatric medications, on the other hand, actually don't have addictive qualities. Right. Very few of them actually
and
do.
They're non-narcotic. They're non-addictive.
Narcotic's
a bad word.
Narcotic's a bad word because
they're non-addictive.
The word narcotic doesn't really mean what people think it means.
Right.
For a while, narcotic meant an opioid only. It was sort of like used in that sense. Then it was taken over by law enforcement. And now it sort of refers to any drug that's bought illegally and used illegally is a narcotic. So, even an antidepressant could be a narcotic, but it certainly doesn't. It doesn't represent sort of the old school
and it's not
view of shooting up with a needle in the alley doing narcotics.
And it's not mood altering. Or
it's not. No, it's very mood altering.
Right, but it's not. What's the word? You know what I'm saying? It's not like.
It's not an opioid.
Right.
So it's not actually releasing a substance that blocks pain receptors, and so you don't get the addictive qualities. So.
Right.
Are you a benzodiazepine?
Oh, here we go. Here's our guest.
We have to introduce you first.
Benzos. Are you guys talking about benzos?
Oh, we can talk about that in a second. Why don't we go just jump in?
By the way, if you
I didn't mean to do that.
No, we're happy you did.
I'm excited when you talk about benzos. Those are my favorite.
I feel like we're back on some set or something.
By the way,
my mouth waters when I talk about benzos. I miss those.
It's funny though because we had a guest a few weeks ago, an amazing guest, Lee Steinberg. And when you were out of town, But you were on the phone, and when we said Quaaludes, he just lit up, you
Right.
know. And he's sober.
I remember those.
But he just, you're right. But okay, if you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio Live. That's Clean with a K. You might be listening to us on News Talk 980, KFWB, or Extreme Talk XM Channel 165, or on the World Wide Web at cleanradio.com. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. One more time, that's 888-539-2980. We have an amazing guest in the studio tonight. I've met her a couple weeks ago at, I can't remember, what was the name of it?
Pornstar for Pets.
Pornstar for Pets.
Or for puppies. For
puppies. You see? That wasn't that easy to remember. And she's also the star of a brand new documentary out. You could get it on demand. You could get it on iTunes. It's the #1 documentary in America, I believe, right now on iTunes.
And you know, I think now it's number 3. It was number 1 for a while.
It was number 1.
It's number
That's all.
1.
Listen, I'd kill. Okay, I'd kill that. That sounded really bad. To have a #1 documentary on iTunes. Let's welcome Mary Carey into Clean Radio.
Hey, Mary.
And
How
the
you
name
doing?
of the name of the documentary is After Porn
Porn
Ends.
And
I
we know Mary from other shows.
I know you guys
correct?
just mentioned Jennifer, who's on Sober House with me and was my sponsor in 2008.
Right.
Right.
So
And
Jennifer, I guess you guys call her Easy on the Eyes.
Easy on the Eyes.
Almost
I
all
loved
Judah.
her. I love Jen.
Yeah, no, she's the best.
She's
She's
great.
easy on the eyes.
She is. You know, her and I were actually going to recreate a photo shoot where I was going to be Marilyn Monroe and she was going to be, who's she's going to be? The brunette in the photo shoot. We were going to do this her and I were always planning out little photo shoots, but then she ditched me for Brandy.
Whoa!
right on there.
As the
No,
world.
I'm just kidding. No, that was all. I'm just kidding.
No, it's okay. So this is. Let's
I'm
talk
just
quick.
kidding.
So
there was lots of other stuff in between. That was just a joke.
Wow.
No, that
The
was
plot
There
thickens.
was way other stuff in between.
So this it's called After the Porn Ends,
Yes.
and so here's the question. So the porn has ended,
The porn has ended.
and so what was, if you don't mind, what is Mary Carey your real name? Or?
Mary Ellen Cook.
Mary
is my
Ellen
real
Cook.
name.
So do you go-
Mary's still either way. I'm so
Right.
glad. I always feel bad for the girls who did porn that decided to choose, I originally wanted to be Victoria Valderrama, believe it or not. And I'm so glad I
Wait. Victoria what?
Valderrama, because my fake ID name when I was 20 was Melissa Valderrama. And Victoria was my stripper name when I was 19. So I was like, ooh, I'm going to be Victoria Valderrama.
It's very odd. Mine was too.
And I did porn. I was
You can tell that Judah obviously had a problem with alcohol.
Hey, listen, if it
Calling
paid, I
himself
did it.
Victoria.
well, that's why when I started stripping, I just started really getting into drinking. I was like, this is an awesome job. I get to drink, I get to make money, and I mean, for me, I like dancing because I'd done ballet and in college was my dancing. So I get to dance, make money, drink. I mean, this was the greatest job ever, you know.
And what happened?
Well, I mean, from there I went into doing porn and Playboy TV and running for governor, and
Yeah, that was
so I
just.
kind of progressed for me.
If
but-
I was able to vote in the state of California, I would have voted for you. So you ran for this. That's very interesting. I remember that actually. It was when Arnold was running, and you
Yeah, the
you
recall.
decided to put your hat in the ring.
You know, I wish we'd have another recall because the great thing about a recall versus a regular election is you only need 65 signatures to get on the ballot. In a regular election, as an independent candidate, it takes 850,000 signatures, but in a recall, only 65.
Well,
So it's much easier and that's why so many people were able to run, you know?
Right. It only costs us a
And
few
Gar-
$1 million in taxpayer money to have all these people on the ballot.
didn't Gary Coleman run too? Didn't Gary
yes,
Coleman?
you know, he came in 9th and I came in 10th in the final outcome of the election. But see,
But
Gary,
you're still alive.
Yeah, I could guarantee if
That's
it were to
true,
happen
that's
again,
true.
you'd come ahead.
well, you know, but Larry Flint came in 6th and I came in 10th. So I think the porn vote was split. So I think that's why I came in 10th. I think Larry Flint got some of my votes, you know. But I was brand new. I just moved to LA. I was 23. I feel like if I were to do it again now, I mean, at that point, my first DVD or first VHS tape, I should say at that time, wasn't even really out yet.
Right.
So I feel like I would do much better now. I'm more established. So I think I could do better. You
So
know?
let's, you've been on this, you were on Sober House, right? And
Yes.
were you on Celebrity Rehab before
I was
that?
on the first season
The
of
first
Celebrity
season,
Rehab.
right?
Dr. Drew's big comeback when he hadn't been on TV since Loveline.
Right.
You know? Yeah, 2007 we filmed that.
So tell me a little bit about that experience and what happens after that. And
Yes,
you know, that's fun.
for me, oh my gosh, well, Celebrity Rehab, I mean, I know some people maybe view it as, or maybe some people had maybe negative experiences from it or don't view it as real rehab. For me, I viewed it as a life-saving, life-changing event because at that point, I knew I needed rehab. I had a really bad problem at Xanax at that point. I was taking, 2.5 of the little white bars at night, but I was,
The
after
full Xanny bars?
yeah, the white bars. But
Wow.
there was a lot of nights where I was taking like 7 of them because I would drink a bottle of Kettle One vodka and think I took 2.5, but then I was so drunk I'd forgot I took 2, so I'd take 2 more. But then I was like, did I take them yet? And I would
You're
take
lucky
2
you're
more.
alive.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
that's-
I did some crazy things. I would call. I'd wake up at 3 in the afternoon and like call people, and then my assistant would be like, I'd be like, I gotta call these people. She's like, you just call them. Like,
So what do you think
A lot of drunk
started you
dialing.
doing that?
Well, it happened. My mom and dad are both mentally handicapped. My dad has cerebral palsy. My mom's schizophrenic. And in 2006, my mom jumped off a 4-story building. She didn't
Oh,
take
my
her
goodness.
schizophrenia medication. And when that happened, I was I got very, very depressed with
How
taking
old were
care
you
of
at that
her.
point?
I was 26.
26.
And
wow.
so,
I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
horrible.
I know. I talk about it so nonchalantly, I guess, but she survived 13 surgeries later, and that was kind of at the same time when she jumped. I was like, dear God, if my mom survived this, I will change my life. I will try to get sober and get out of the adult industry and be like good, lead a better life, And so that was in September of 2006, and then things were, I was still doing my club appearances and everything, but I knew I needed to go to rehab to get off Xanax because I couldn't figure out how to get off on my on my own. And to go to rehab, that would mean spending a lot of money and taking time off of work, which was my appearances every weekend. So I couldn't really figure out how I was going to do that. So when I got the call to do celebrity rehab, I just cried because I was like, okay, I'm going to get paid to go to rehab.
You got the best of both worlds.
And I was like, this gets me kind of out of the porn business because it gets, it shows people who only know me from porn or running for governor or my Playboy show. It shows them another side of me. It shows people the real person instead of just this like ditzy, blonde, sexy girl. It shows people a whole other side. And so I was so excited. And I just, when I went into it, I just took it and I really used the rehab process to I got really involved in it. I mean, some people, I guess, didn't want to open up because they knew the cameras were there. And I figured, as Drew said when he went around the room, or some of you guys holding back, you really got to be out there with everything if you want to get it.
It doesn't really seem very I own a rehab, so
Yeah.
well, 2, I guess now. But it's strange that I find it interesting. I mean, what I've seen on Celebrity Rehab, and I'm good friends with
Yeah.
Bob Forrest, and I know
I love
Drew,
Bob.
obviously. Yeah. So I'm actually doing a PBS special with Bob on the screening of his film. We're on the 18th. That will be
really?
broadcast on NPR.
Okay, hold on hold that thought for a second. If you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio Live. That's Clean with a K. By the way, the show tonight is being sponsored by TreatmentLine.com. You might be listening to us on KFWB News Talk 980, our flagship station, or Extreme Talk XM channel 165. But if you want to watch us live, listen to us live on the web, just go to cleanradio.com. That's Clean with a K. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. We're in the studio tonight with Mary Carey, star of the new film, #1 on iTunes. I know it's #3 now, but it was #1.
Don't say that.
It's
Okay.
called After the Porn Ends. It's really amazing, and we want to get into that. But before we do, our publicist is the biggest Mariah Carey fan ever.
gosh.
So is that where Mary Carey came from?
It did because my agent at the time said, he's like, you should really keep your real first name. And what celebrity do you think you look like? And I was like, or what celebrity your last name? You should pick a celebrity last name. And at the time, I was a huge Britney Spears fan. And it's like, I want to be Mary Spears or Mary Aguilera. And he's like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, in high school, people said it looked like Mariah Carey. So Mary Carey was
Yeah, Mary
born.
Spears really doesn't work in porn.
Or Mary Aguilera.
Sort of an intimidating porn name.
So do you think you would have had a problem with drugs and alcohol if you hadn't been in the adult industry? Do you
Yes,
think there-
100%. I do not think, and that's something I've kind of, through talking with Drew, and then, since that I see Dr. Charles Sophie weekly, and I talk to him about it all the time. Dr. Charles Sophie's amazing psychiatrist. He's been helping me. That's my follow-up doctor. And
great.
I definitely think that I think almost I probably would have been worse had I not been in the business because I think that partying and alcohol, it happened when I was 16. My grandfather had died. And I was like a big ballet student. I went to a private Jewish preparatory school in Fort Lauderdale. I was a great student. Went to college. I turned to boys and attention. I kind of left ballet and turned to getting attention from men, and became I discovered that I could be. I liked getting attention. I could be the center of attention at parties by going out and drinking, and so I turned to definitely drinking and partying in college and going out. I loved going to the nightclubs because I realized quickly that the DJs liked me and I was in the VIP, and I just liked the attention of going out. And I think that going out to California and I liked I was a theater major then in college, so I think the adult industry just helped me get to keep going. I guess it let me fuel my addiction, you could say, because if I wouldn't have done this, I would have had to maybe go get a regular job versus I was able to go on the road feature dancing, where it means I was going to strip clubs Thursday, Friday, Saturday, getting paid a large amount of money, where I go on stage a couple of shows, do autograph signings, and I thought I was a rock star. I was like, I remember when I was 23, I would do shots on stage with customers. I started getting in trouble at strip club bookings because I was drinking and partying too much at strip clubs. Strip clubs were cutting me off from drinking. That's when you know you have a bit of a problem.
Getting a little sloshy at work.
When my agent would call me, the strip club says you are not allowed to drink the next day.
So in a sense, it almost getting into doing stripping and getting into porn might have actually, in many ways, saved your life.
But why the Xanax?
Xanax, I started not being able to really sleep well at night, and I started just taking Tylenol PMs, and a girlfriend of mine, another porn star, when I was 25, I would take Tylenol PM and wake up after 3 or 4 hours, and she was taking Xanax. One day she's like, will you just take this so you can sleep longer with me? And then I just loved the sleep on the Xanax. And then
So you didn't even get it from a doctor to start. You got it from
No, and you know how I finally got them from a doctor was my mom jumped off the building, her neurosurgeon. I ended up kind of dating him, which thank God saved my mom. She
dated the neurosurgeon.
I dated my mom's neurosurgeon, and for about 4 or 5 months, and I told him, "Can I have a prescription to Xanax and Valiums?" And he did. He gave me a prescription, and that's how I got my prescription.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy that he did that? I told Dr. Drew he thought that was insane that a doctor would do that. But
Shocking.
Yeah. Well, it's actually kind of unethical.
Yeah, but
I know it is unethical. Now I realize I couldn't believe he would do that either.
Right.
Especially because he saw how what I was like. He knew I wasn't taking these I was taking way too many after drinking just to pass out. And
yeah, knowing that you were drinking, he shouldn't have prescribed a benzodiazepine, which is the classification of.
Yeah, and I was taking, way too many of them to go to sleep at night, and it just got to the point where, like I said, it was just I started taking more and more and more, and then drinking more, not knowing how many I took, and I knew it was going to end badly soon. So when I went to rehab,
Did you ever try and moderate your use? Did you ever try and stop on your own, or, not drink as much, or did you just sort of kind of, embrace it and go full out?
I went full out and then what happened is once I knew I was going to rehab, I kind of just that last month, I remember I was in Vegas with one of my friends, and he was all, "You're really crazy." I'm like, "I'm going to rehab. I'm going to party until I go to rehab." And then, I still the last time I had a Xanax was July 27th, 2007.
That's amazing.
And then when I went to rehab, and then, Drew, though, put me on Seroquel. So now my new thing is I'm trying to get off the Seroquel. I'm down to 100 milligrams on that because that.
Explain to people quickly, though, so they understand what Seroquel is.
It made me gain weight, and it slowed my thyroid down.
Yeah, well, it's an atypical antipsychotic.
But they use for sleeping, too.
Yeah, but they use it for sleeping medication, lower doses.
Yeah.
So, 100 milligrams, still quite a bit, though. That's.
Well, I was on 100, and then I started having trouble sleeping. After taking 100 for about 2 years, I started taking 200 because 100 wasn't making me sleep anymore.
Right.
And then I was taking 200, and then what happened is I accidentally got myself on 400 because I thought that the 200 milligrams were 100 milligram pills, and I was taking 2 at night, not realizing.
You should probably have someone put your medication in a box for you.
No, I'm okay now. I'm okay now. I'm taking the 100.
Andrew's actually offering.
I'm okay. No, I'm okay now.
I have a question for you, and so you.
I am trying to get off it. Dr. Sophie and I are working on. Now I'm doing the 100 in melatonin and trying to get down to 50 then, and increasing melatonin and taking Topamate with it.
Do you have other symptoms, like other problems? Do you have depression or mania?
No, I can go without sleep. I guess I can get manic.
Right.
I can stay awake and not sleep.
Have you been treating that in the past?
Well, that's why I took the Xanax, and I've been taking the Seroquel, and I take Topamate.
Oh, Topamate. Okay.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So you said basically porn and stripping help save your life in some ways. And it's actually a really interesting point because I was watching this documentary the other night called about the Craigslist killer, you know.
Yeah.
And it's about people that go and do the sex industry on Craigslist where there's no, it's not sanctioned or anything like that. So in a sense, maybe getting into porn, maybe getting into stripping, it allowed you to not go to those places.
Oh, I would never have done those.
Oh, okay.
Because mine was all about, I wanted to be an actress. Mine was all about being, and I really didn't do that many movies. If you look at, like, it's very hard. In the porn industry, a girl can do 30 movies in 30 days, you know?
Right.
I was always under a contract, and, you know, I only did 12 movies with guys over my career, which is not a lot, you know,
Right.
about...
Considering, all right, some people shoot 100 movies a year.
Yeah, I did about, I didn't really do much, and I had my Playboy show. I like doing the independent movies. I really wanted to be an actress. Like, kind of, I viewed porn as an easier way. I'm like, this is the easier way to get on camera and act, and I didn't view. I don't think I even really realized. I don't think I was like, oh, I'm having sex. It didn't bother me. I guess I don't really ever remember being nervous about it. To me, it was like I'm on camera and I'm acting. It didn't. I don't know. It didn't really ever bother me, I guess.
Well, we got to take a break.
Yeah.
So we got a minute
If you
before we
just
go out
if
here.
you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEANRadio.com. That's clean with a K. The show tonight is being sponsored by TreatmentLine.com. Give us a call. It's 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. We're in the studio tonight with the extremely talented Mary Carey, the star of the #1 documentary on iTunes, After Porn Ends. You're listening to KLEANRadio.com. Give us a call. The discussion continues.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's clean with a K, cleantreatmentcenter.com.
Welcome back to Clean Radio. We got a great show tonight. We have in the studio with us tonight Mary Carey, star of the #1 documentary on iTunes. It's now #3, but we're #1.
It might be #1 again, I guess.
And it's called, let's get it to number one. It's called After Porn Ends, and it's directed by Bryce Wagner.
Yeah, Bryce Wagner. He's so sweet.
And so let me ask you a question. So the porn has ended. And
well, you know what? I mean, yeah, I do. I still have my website. I like shoot nude photos for my website and stuff.
So
I don't do.
More,
I don't
right.
do like
what the movies.
No,
and
I haven't done those for years.
And so what's next? What is After Porn Ends for you right now?
Well, right now I go to. I feel like I'm the same as a struggling actress going to a lot of auditions. I have an audition tomorrow, and working on I'm working on a book, which I think is it's a really good story. I have had a very interesting life, and I've got a lot of little tell-alls. But I think also, hopefully, it'll make a lot of people aware of just about. because I think a lot of people don't realize that maybe they have an issue or a problem with drinking, because one thing is especially with drinking, is I never was someone who would. I didn't drink alone, which I never. So I didn't think that was a problem. I didn't ever necessarily drink all day. I didn't drink every single day.
Right.
I never woke up and started drinking. I never drank alone. But then again, I always tell people, I think if you're a pretty girl, you don't really have to drink alone. It's very easy to. It's very
right.
easy.
I didn't have the same choice.
I would I would pick up my phone and I would send out 10 text messages. Hey, want to have some drinks with me, and find the first whoever the best choice was. I would go drink with.
I sent out those same messages, and cops came.
You hear that, Judah? Whoever the best choice was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would pick one. I would make plans with
I was
10.
number 11.
I would make plans with a couple people always, and then figure out which was the best offer, and then go. But I wouldn't. So I kind of didn't think I was an alcoholic.
That's an actually very interesting point you raise, and something we talk about a lot is that for me, when a guy can hit a bottom a lot quicker with alcohol and drugs than a woman sometimes, because let's be honest, women can get drugs sometimes for free, and
so can guys.
Really?
Yes.
Thank God I didn't know you when I was doing it because I just always thought it was a little easier for women to come in a little. It was a little
Depends
harder.
what you're willing to do.
Right. And it's a little harder to stop sometimes because it's constantly being, whether you're an athlete, whether you're, people are constantly giving you stuff for free.
All that drinking, you never did anything to get alcohol?
Yeah, it's called stealing. Off bar stools, off the empties off of people's tables. But what about the Vicodin? Were you taking the Vicodin?
No, I never did
not
Vicodin,
the I'm sorry, the
You know
Xanax.
what's funny? I always, to this day, I will never understand how anyone... Vicodin to me... I remember trying painkillers when I was like 18. The couple guys, like my 18-year-old boyfriend, they love painkillers. And I tried an Oxy once or twice. I tried a Vicodin. Every time I'm like, this isn't fun. What do you guys like about it? I even tried snorting
the funny
one.
thing is
Never
that
liked it.
drugs that you're sort of an up kind of speedy kind of person.
Yeah.
So you're more likely to be attracted to drugs that are actually more amphetamine based because they'll make you feel calmer.
No, but you know what? The only thing I like to do ever is just to drink or a Xanax, really, usually at bedtime. And
So you never got into coke? You never got into
I would say I could.
no meth?
I think I tried meth once by accident, and it was because an ex-boyfriend told me it was coke, and I remember like, this is the worst tasting coke you've ever given me. What's wrong with you? I was like, this coke's horrible,
Right.
And then I think I've done, and like literally the couple times I would do coke, I would do like the littlest line compared to everyone else, and
Yeah, but
I
who
would
are you
be
hanging
like,
out with?
No, it wasn't like. I mean, it was like I was going through like a half of a gram a night, and I felt like the equivalent, I think, to people who are doing like an 8-ball a night. And I did it I probably did it like 10 times. Like, no, that's not true. My little stripping when I was 19, I did it for like a month straight. But other than that, I didn't do it very much because I think that when I would drink with people, I would be able to stay up drinking until 6 in the morning with them just by myself, while they would have to do coke to stay up with me. Like I'm able to just naturally keep going. That was my problem. That was always a problem for me drinking is I can keep going. That was I guess my alcoholic.
So do you recognize?
Going
do you
going.
like now recognize that alcohol and Xanax was an inappropriate way to try and deal with that problem?
Yeah, it's self-medicating, and I think so many people don't realize that they're self-medicating. And it's so funny because then what happened to me too is the original me, like when I first came out, before I ran for governor, when I started running for governor, I'm just naturally kind of goofy and funny. But then after a couple of years of that, everyone's like, oh, you're fun, you're crazy. At Playboy TV, I was doing this hidden camera show. I was a fun, crazy girl. I started thinking, wait a minute, to be that fun, crazy girl, I probably have to have a couple of drinks to be that fun, crazy girl. So then I started thinking, I better have some drinks to be that personality, not realizing that when I would have the drinks to try to be that person, then I wasn't fun and I wasn't as good as when I was
sober. That's the great
sober.
lie. That's one of the amazing lies is that we tell ourselves is that this is making us funny. Sadly, Sam Kinison, there's a whole slew of comedians that were really funny sober.
Yeah.
But they had people constantly riding them, just giving them booze and alcohol and drugs and doing that stuff. So, by the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio Live. That's Clean with a K. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. We're in the studio tonight with the star of After Porn Ends, Mary Carey, who's got an audition tomorrow.
I do.
And
we actually have a call.
Oh,
you want to go into?
I love how you sound surprised.
Well, I'm not surprised. I'm just.
Let's go to it.
I'm trying to interrupt you, so we can
Go ahead, interrupt all you want. Go for it.
sort of like part of my role,
Yes, go for it.
Okay, why don't we take line 2? I guess we got Taco, who seems to be a friend of Mary's. Actually.
Oh, Taco.
Taco, welcome to Clean Radio.
Hey, thank you very much. Mary, I have one question for you.
Hi, Taco.
Hi, sweetie. How you doing?
I'm good.
That's good.
I
Well,
love
here's the
Taco.
question.
Taco doesn't drink.
Right on, Taco.
Oh, good for.
There you go. What is the first thing you noticed about being clean?
Well, there's a lot of things I noticed. Number one, like waking up in the morning is so much better. There's so many things. When you wake up, you don't like. For me, my number one thing I do when I'm like drunk or on Xanax is I always think people are gonna come after my stuff, so I like hide my phones. I hide things.
You got paranoid.
Oh, I have to wake up and I'm always looking for things. So that's the best thing of waking up, like knowing where everything's at. Being able to go to the gym. I love going, being like not starving for like, Taco Bell. Like there's so many, those are like so many of the great things. Like, I mean, going to like my strip club bookings and not having them mad at me.
Was that hard doing that?
No, doing the
He's
dance,
stripping,
cooking stuff.
right.
Well, you know what? Can I feature dance? So, I mean, if I was a regular like stripper who was having to walk around and like talk to guys the whole night and stuff, that'd be hard. But like, I go on, I do a stage show, and then afterwards I do like a meet and greet with the fans. So that's not really hard to do sober.
Right.
I mean, I still think that was fun to do a few drinks, I guess,
Right.
but untunfortunately, I don't know how to have a few drinks.
Here's
so.
the
So
one.
wait,
Here's
Taco
the,
did
If
that.
I was able
wait,
to
hold on.
drink
Taco. I
responsibly-
just want to talk Taco.
this just sounds sort of
So,
funny.
Taco, you asked that question. You obviously are sober. You're saying Mary was saying, is that true?
Well, I put it this way: if I have 2 drinks in a month, that's a bad month for me.
Huh. So you found a way to moderate your drinking.
When I go to clubs or whatever, I'm a water guy.
Ah, I got it.
You know, you know what I found funny though? I was in a club and I don't drink, and I was in a club and drinking
Let's
a
just
lot of
thank
water.
Taco for the call. Really
Thank
quickly.
you,
We're gonna-
thank you,
Love
Taco.
you, Taco.
But
Thanks for calling.
I was in a club one time drinking a lot of water, and I was crouching because my knees hurt, and I wasn't drinking or anything, and people thought I was on ecstasy. And apparently, drinking a lot of water and crouching is the universal "you're on ecstasy"
I didn't
sign.
know the crouching.
And
but
yeah,
definitely
people are
water.
walking up to me asking me. I'm like,
It's
no, I'm sober.
International.
Yeah,
for
but let me ask you a question, which I know a lot of guys are. So when you first got into stripping, were you in school at the time?
Yes, I was at FAU on the dance team even.
Were you actually putting yourself through school with the stripping?
You know, not really. My grandpa, I had the Florida prepaid college fund, and you know, like my grandmother, we had the money for the college. I mean, I guess for my spending money and stuff. I mean, I would have had to have a part-time job. I started out working at a bagel shop, and then working as a hostess at Chili's, working at Hooters, and then it's like, I was like, if I'm going to work a couple of days a week, I'd rather make more money. It's like I'd rather work 3 days a week making more money. And then I figured
So would
I
you,
liked going out to nightclubs.
I-
Why not go to a strip club
Right.
and make money?
So you're pretty favorable to the industry then. You think it's a
You know, it's so funny. I guess I'm one of the few people. It's so funny. Of like girls who left the business. I've never had anything really bad. Okay, that's not true. I've had bad thing happen to me at a strip club. I got held at gunpoint at a strip club once.
that's
so
pretty
I can't
bad.
say that's true. I did it. You know, a guy came in the manager's office, which was connected to my dressing room, and I was doing an appearance, and robbed the strip club. So that was and held me at gunpoint. And I was actually sober. I was grateful I was sober when it happened, though, because if I was drunk and all that happened, I
Would've
don't know
said
what I would have
something,
done.
yeah.
I would have who knows what I would have done. Instead, I kind of just sat.
So
kinda
if
held
young
together,
women
but-
came up to you now, you'd recommend that?
No, I would never
Stole
recommend
my
anyone to
next
get it. I would
question.
never recommend anyone to get into the business, though. You know, that's the business. I mean, I actually think you're safer going into the movie business than the strip club business in a way. But I wouldn't. The movie business is completely different now than it was when I got into it. Now it's like internet. When I was in it, it was like.
So when you
You
say
knew
movie,
everybody.
you mean the porn?
The porn, yeah.
movie
When I
industry.
was in it, it was like big budgets. For a porn, it was bigger budget sets,
Right.
and you kind of knew everybody, at the time.
Well, the internet's kind of killing everything, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
internet. It's thousands of performers. They're not getting paid that much these days.
Right.
For a girl to make a name for herself, it's a lot harder, I think. There's so many performers. You have a lot of the guys, since the guys aren't making as much money, they work on both the gay side and the straight side. Versus when I was in the business, it was like if a guy worked on the gay side, then they were like shunned from the straight side. Not that we're homophobic, but the difference is on the gay
It's
side.
like
they
West
don't-
Side Story.
they don't require the same testing. The straight side is a strict testing, and the gay side doesn't require HIV
Really?
testing.
Do you actually get a lot
I
of
would've thought it'd
questions
be
from
the-
girls? From young girls
You know what?
asking
I get
if
a lot
it's-
of the strip clubs. I'll always have a couple girls that ask me about it. You know what? Not so much anymore. I'd say the question stopped like 2 years ago, but it used to be a lot of girls that would come up to me asking me about if they want to get in the business, how they do it, what what they should do, and I don't know. I don't.
Do you think? I mean, obviously, there's a stereotype out there in the porn industry. I don't know whether it's true or not about the drug use.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage would you say, if you could actually say this, of people in the porn industry are abusing drugs?
I would say that. Well, one thing I will say, a lot of girls use that. It's so funny. It's almost like I'd have to say like 70-80% of the girls take Xanax.
Which is a serious drug. I mean,
Which is
Andrew-
very funny because
Yeah.
a lot of them. I don't think they take them just to sleep at night like I do. I think they take them. It's really funny. A girl that I met her a couple times. I guess I was on. I don't know if she just sends a text. I mean, I've only met her like 2 or 3 times. I got like a mass text from her maybe a year and a half ago. Just so everyone knows, I'm currently like selling Xanax, spelt like complete like ZAN. Just so everyone
Autocorrect
knows,
wasn't working on her
I'm
phone.
currently selling Xanax. Please contact me if you want to buy some.
It's probably
I'm like,
Zantac and acid, but she
but I
thought
was
it
just
was
thinking,
Xanax.
like, this is crazy. You barely know me. You must
Right.
have sent a mass text out letting everyone know that you were currently
It's a good way to
selling
get
these
arrested.
pills.
Yeah, which people have actually. But by the way, if you just tuned in, you are listening to Clean Radio Live. That's Clean with a K. Our T-shirts did come in, and I know I've promised many people the T-shirts. Sorry they took so long, but if you go to cleanradio.com, just send us your info, your size, and all that stuff, or cleanradio.com. If you just tuned in, we're in the studio tonight. Give us a call, by the way, at 888-539-2980.
You should mention who designed and made our T-shirts.
Sober Sexy designed our T-shirts. She did. Haley Mortison from Sober Sexy, who's been a guest on the show, who's got really amazing T-shirts out there. Designed an amazing shirt. Andrew, show the people watching live what the shirt looks like.
You're half undressed. So.
Okay, I'll show them, and and it's really amazing. Just send us the info so we could get to the shirts to you. We're in the studio tonight with star of After Porn Ends, Mary Carey. She's also famous, obviously, for running for the governor of California. If you ever decide to do it again, I would
I'd
love
love
to be.
to.
I would love to be your lieutenant governor. I say
That'd be fun.
let's do a recall petition of Jerry
I
Brown.
know. Let's do it.
Because yeah, Jerry Brown. And so tell us, After the Porn Ends, when did it shoot? How long did?
You know, they shot my segment in 2008, which for me, I wasn't so happy with it because we shot Celebrity Rehab in July, August of 2007, Sober House in July, August of 2008, and then I shot After Porn Ends. And so I had gained through the rehab process. Initially, I had gained about 20 pounds, I'd say. And so when I shot it, my face was a lot heavier. And maybe I even gained more weight than that, maybe 25 pounds. I've lost some weight now. So, but then I'd also started putting on weight since, I still have weight to lose. I don't know. I had put on weight. So either way, my face is a lot fatter in it. So I don't like that about it. But they shot my segment in 2008. And then I think it took them about a year and a half to get everyone else's stories because, I had just came out of the business about a year before when I was doing the VH1 shows. A lot of the other girls who I actually think have way more fascinating stories than myself since I'm still, I'm only 32. I was 28 when we shot this. The other girls, some of them are in their 50s and have been retired for 10, 15 years and are, living in Utah, raising their families, or one of the girls is a bounty hunter now. They're really living a completely different life after porn, where I'm still kind of living in LA I'm still in the middle of figuring out really who I am and what I want to do.
I'd like to go back a
everything.
second because one of the things you said is that you didn't like being shot after having gotten sober and gained weight.
I didn't like that.
And it's sad to me that that's often something that we face. So
I think a
often.
lot of people.
A lot of people won't get sober, or they start getting sober, then they go off medication that's helping them
Yeah.
get sober because they're gaining weight.
Yeah, because at that point I was on the Jefficoat too, and that had maybe.
Yeah,
No,
so
it was a huge fear of mine.
yeah, but people would rather be addicted to something that could kill them at any day, drunk driving, or
yeah.
than worry about their weight a little bit until they get healthy, and then. Obviously, you were able to lose some weight since then.
Yeah, you know what? The biggest thing with the Seroquel I found is that when I would take it at bedtime, I would have about an hour after taking it, I would feel like I ran a marathon, and I would get so hungry, and I would start just wanting to snack. And now I'm like, sometimes still now I'm like, okay, like last night, but I get also this, I call it, I feel leady when I take it. So at the same time, I'm like, I'm so tired, I can't do it, I'm hungry. And then I would just get up and I would start snacking. Now I'm like really good, and if I'm really hungry, I'll have a protein shake, with some almond milk or a rice cake with almond butter, or some egg whites or something. I keep a bunch of hard-boiled eggs, and I'll eat egg whites, but
do you think?
First, it was hard.
But do you think the ramifications of having gained weight and getting sober was worth it?
Yeah, 100% worth it. Not only that, unfortunately, yes, I'm in this documentary looking like that for the rest of my life. But overall, that was a couple of years of my life where I put on some weight, but that's nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
Overall, I'm so much healthier. I'm happier. And what's funny? A lot of people, in fact, when I was taking the Xanax, there was times where, for some reason, that knocked out me ever being hungry. I would be able to go sometimes like days without eating, just drink and take Xanax. So I was actually at one point.
Well, there's a lot of calories in alcohol.
But I was super duper skinny. I almost looked sick sometimes, people said.
Well, because it doesn't have, they're empty calories. There's no nutrition.
I guess.
So.
But I would go to the gym and do cardio still, and I would also sit in the sauna for like an hour. But I was really, really thin. But a lot of people said, even when I was in the heavier, though, I still looked so much healthier. Like when I was sober, everyone said I looked so much better still than I did when I was like really, really skinny. So,
Well, because there's also a healthiness that comes out when you're sober, even if you're not feeling always the most physically fit. But you're sober, you're conscious, it was like you were talking about, you didn't have to hide your cell phone. You didn't have to hide. There's a certain freedom that comes with being sober.
Yeah.
And, but at least, from Celebrity Rehab 1, thank God you're alive. Because sadly, right, wasn't Jeff Conway on?
Jeff Conway was on that one with me, and then I was, Rodney King was on Sober House with me, and, Rodney King was a shocking one to me. I would never have thought that he was. I still don't think I don't think we've gotten the coroner's report. I don't feel like he could have drowned.
Right.
Yeah, but long-term abuse of drugs and alcohol can lead to cardiac problems.
Right.
So,
cocaine use,
even if you get
tissue.
sober, it doesn't mean you're out of the woods.
Right.
I mean, it certainly is a key step, but a lot of people die prematurely from damage they've done to their bodies over time.
And that's also important to talk about. Something we haven't talked about in a while is that one of the big things about detoxing healthy or medically is because people don't realize getting off of Xanax
is
extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Cutting out
well,
drinking.
Alcohol.
Right.
If you just stop drinking
Right.
alcohol and you've been consuming a lot of alcohol, you can have seizure. Benzodiazepines, which includes
Really bad.
Xanax, Valium,
Klonopin,
right?
And it's extremely important that
you need to get a doctor
Right.
involved in detoxing, and you have to do what they call titrate, which means come off it slowly. And
I remember I was on what was that? Phenobarbital, I think
Yeah.
I took.
Phenobarbital.
I took that when I was first in the rehab. I remember Dr. Drew had me on almost the same amount of meds as Jeff Conway. And I was like, what's going on here? Why am I on the same amount of meds? And Dr. Drew explained to me because of the Xanax that my withdrawal could have been bad. I guess,
it could have been very bad.
And you look great
You know what?
right now.
I want to jump into another
Yeah,
call.
sorry.
Let's
for
go
it.
for another call. We got Nicole in Cincinnati.
I'm living on the air. Welcome to Clean Radio, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole. Welcome to Clean Radio. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Great.
You have a question for Mary?
Yeah, I wanted to know, Mary, how have you changed since you stopped doing porn?
Gosh, I feel like, it's weird. I feel like I'm kind of the same person. I do feel like I'm, I guess, the same person. I'm just not doing the movies, but I do think I'm the same person. I don't think I'm really a different person. I mean, I guess, granted though, I guess I could say this. When I first got into porn, the first couple years, I'd say, 2002, 3, 4, I was always sober on a porn set. My last 5 and 6, and my last movie, January 2007, other than the one in 09, I was completely drinking and always drunk and doing Xanax on the porn sets. So I guess obviously maybe I wasn't happy doing them, because the last couple of years of porn I was drinking and taking Xanax constantly every time I'd have to go do a movie. But
so Nicole's question is kind of
guess-
interesting because, and thank you for asking it, Nicole. But it sounds like, porn and addiction for you weren't as tied together as they were for other people. I mean, I've spoken with
Well, in
other...
the end, she just said it was, in a sense.
I think
But
as it progressed.
Yeah.
But, I've spoken with a lot of other people that have been in the porn industry, and they said they couldn't do it without being numbed or high or...
I guess towards the end, it's hard for me to say because towards the end, I only shot my last, I signed a contract in 2003, so I'd only shoot one movie every other month. My last 3 years in the business, I'd shoot one movie every other month. So I'd shoot 6 movies a year. And so when I would shoot, and I know a lot of other girls would do like 20 scenes, a month. So that one movie, I would show up, and I remember I would bring I'd fill up my Gatorade bottles with white wine, I'd go get the yellow Gatorade bottles, or I would bring water bottles full of vodka and then get the Sign Delight from the set and pour the vodka, and then I'd be running around the set. Anyone see my Sign Delight? And they're like, we have more Sign Delight?
Right, that's my question
I
for
need
you.
my Sunny Delights.
But that's my question for you. Did you actually have to hide this stuff on the set?
Yes, because on my sets especially, you're not supposed to be drinking or doing any drugs. I think technically you're not. It might be illegal to do that.
I think it is, yeah.
Because then you could try to say you're not in the right mind.
You
So
didn't provide consent.
I remember I was pretty wasted in one of the movies, and the director pulls me aside and he's like, and it's like the third or fourth movie I've done with the director, every other month where I've been drinking. And finally, it's like, we don't think that was just Sunny Delight that you were drinking. And I'm thinking, wow, it took them a long time to pick up on this. It's been a couple
probably
movies.
just so you weren't functional enough.
Nicole, did that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks,
you so
Nicole.
much.
Thank you for calling Clean Radio.
But that's actually very, it's something I want to get back to too. And I think it's important for people out there that are listening tonight that are struggling, and it's something we talk about a lot. Is like people have a lot of fears of getting sober. One of them could be weight gain. One of them could
also
be
facing your past.
Facing your past is
Facing your past is a big one.
We constantly see that, and people going, "Oh my God, what have I done?"
Right.
But here's the
all
thing,
that fear.
right? If you keep on doing what you're doing, what you've done is going to keep on getting worse.
Right. Well, my favorite one is when I meet people that are just getting sober, and you go over to their house, and there's always that one drawer that's just stuffed with mail.
Right. Oh, that was mine. That was my trunk. I had a Chrysler LeBaron 1984 when I was living in Florida. That I kid you not, the whole trunk was mail. Because alcoholics and addicts have this thinking that if they don't answer the mail or answer the phone, the
goes
call
away.
never came.
Yeah.
Or if you don't go to the doctor to get treatment, then you're not
Can you
sick.
imagine if you had gotten in a drunk driving accident and then the trunk popped open and 10
mail.
10 years of
All the
bills
mail.
and mail, and they'll
Yeah.
be like, oh, well,
and I've met people that have actually lost their kid. Lost children because they didn't open the mail,
Right.
Oh, wow.
and because they didn't,
Or their house.
because they didn't show up. And we dealt with this. We had a few weeks ago. We had an amazing guest in the studio. We have an amazing guest tonight too. But Lee Steinberg was sharing that he didn't just redo his NFL license. That's the reason he lost his NFL.
Yeah, he didn't open
my
his
God.
mail, and
Or he
now
just
he's going
or he
through
was
years of
neglectful.
work. Yeah.
Right, he was just neglectful of
Wow.
it. And it's so. I mean, maybe so. When she just asked you what has changed, have you found that you're facing life differently now?
One of my biggest changes, but I think one of the hardest things for me about wanting to get sober was I didn't like being alone. I don't have a lot of family. I lived out here alone. So for me, wanting to go out and drink was because I wanted to go out every night because I didn't like to be alone. So going out every single night, going out dinner, drinking, I felt like I had things. I was not alone. I was going out, and then I could come home. My friend would drop me off at 2, 3 in the morning. Then I was drunk and could play on my computer and pass out. So that was, being sober. I was
hard.
like, okay, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
I would go to an AA meeting,
Right.
and then I'm home at 10 or 11, and
Yeah.
then I'm just sitting here, and
It's
that was the hard part for me, I think. And that's, and then you're just in your thoughts instead of wasted and falling asleep. So that was the hard part for me.
Have you had situations where people in AA or other groups have been, say that you're not really
Inappropriate.
sober because you're, taking medications and...
You know what? No, I actually haven't ever
that's
had
good.
that. But you know what? I don't really. I don't think
don't really
everyone's
tell
really
people?
The only person I ever talked about those ever was Jennifer.
I thought you were going to
She
ask
was-
her actually something you were
Well,
about to
hitting on me,
say
yes.
about hitting
I
on
got,
you.
See, that
which
was my big thing. I got hit on very inappropriate. I felt like a lot of guys in AA were very inappropriate with me. A lot of times.
Like sexual predators almost, right?
Yes, and I felt like one of the things I realized is that a lot of guys in AA, I feel like, are sex addicts because they're sober and they become sex addicts.
It's
I
a
don't know.
microcosm of the real world, Alcoholics Anonymous. I think any 12-step group is just,
but if she went to...
And I must
well,
be
I
like,
don't know.
and I
I
must
feel-
be the
right.
easy target.
No, I mean, it is why
she
they
must
have...
like sex too. Let's go for
It
her.
is why they have women's meetings and men's meetings. Hey, listen, I get hit on all the
But
time.
see, I never like the women's meetings because I feel like the women
you're
might
the
not
Judah?
like
Yeah, because
me.
ladies love the Judah. So I totally hear you. I go to meetings and women are just throwing themselves at me, and it's just nothing I could do. And I started
He has an
wearing
active
garlic.
imagination.
My
do.
one sponsor made me only go. We started going to only women's meetings.
That's great.
Which I didn't like those at first. I was like, at first I didn't think I didn't want to go. And I didn't like the first one or two, but then I really liked them.
Yeah.
I felt like, because I thought because sometimes I feel like women that are not basically, when I'm not around women that I know, I feel like other women are going to judge me for my
Right.
past and not like me. So sometimes it's hard for me to be around, I guess, civilian women. I feel like they're just going to look at me and judge me or not like me.
Is that
I
is
like
that a
that
fear?
civilian women. So like you're in the porn army. Is that like
Poor people call non-poor people civilians. So even though I'm
Really?
not a porn
It's
star
like
anymore,
people that are sober
We call people
Yeah.
normies. Yeah.
It's
Right.
so hard for me because I'm not a
When
porn
will this
star
hate
anymore,
end?
but yeah.
When can't we all just be one country?
Look, we've got a minute and a half.
Yes. Let's quickly.
I-
Thank you for coming in. Let's
Thank
tell people
you.
where they could see After Porn Ends. They could see it obviously on iTunes.
Yes, afterpornends.com, I'm assuming.
Amazon,
Yes.
AfterPornEnds.com. Where else can they find After Porn Ends? Amazon.com, let's just say. Why not?
I think if I go to afterpornends.com,
Yeah.
it has all the information
After Porn
they need.
Ends, it's the number 3 movie. Let's get it back to number 1 documentary
Yes.
on iTunes.
And then people go to my Twitter, Real Mary Carey.
Real Mary Carey.
Yes.
And Real, that's REAL, Mary Carey.
Yes.
And I'm still getting used to Twitter, by the way. I got to tell you.
It took me a while to get used to it.
Yeah,
at
because I
first,
can't
now
get so
like
many
it.
thoughts into like 100
140
characters.
words.
Right, but then if you add other people's names too,
It
it like
takes
takes
away.
away the characters.
Judah just gets to the point and then it stops.
That's
It's not-
exactly. But and we actually, so I mean, thank you so much for coming in and
This
discussing
was so
this.
fun. I want to come on sometime. We should have Jen here too.
Jen,
Oh, we
Jen
can
will
do
be
that.
here.
Talking
Yeah, it'll
too
be
much.
it'll.
You guys won't get to talk.
Yeah, we won't
if
get to
me
say
and Jen
anything.
together.
That's okay. We don't mind the week off. But I think it's important to say that, I mean, it's like, you're trying to create this life right now, and it's amazing refreshing. And I think the reason you're doing so well is because you're willing to share so much.
I definitely think that's the biggest thing when people go into the rehab process is you've got to be completely open with the doctors there, with the counselors, with everyone, because you have to I think the biggest thing is fixing the problems that have made you self-medicate.
Right.
And that was a big, when you can address all those inside issues that made you want to drink and take the pills, it helps you get better.
You will be back on, Mary Carey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Andrew, you will be out of town next week. So
I am. I'm actually going to Scotland,
You're
which
gonna
is
say-
interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're going to look at opening
fun.
up some
He didn't
treatment services
invite me.
in Scotland.
Really?
Yeah, well,
And,
somebody's got to stay here and
and
I
do
wanna go
something.
to
Do something.
Scotland.
Maybe next time he goes. Andrew's actually, and I think it's awesome. You're going to Scotland, so Jennifer, easy on the eyes, Jimenez will be in the studio, and.
I hope she really likes that.
No, she loves it, and it's the Judah. I could get away with saying
That's
everything.
so funny.
But
Anyway.
I want to wish you a safe flight. You won't be here for a couple weeks. Spread the
and I would
word.
like to really thank
Yeah.
our listeners and our
Yeah.
callers. Our likes have been going up incredibly.
We're past
and,
5,000, which is awesome.
Yeah, we're headed
and-
to 6.
Yeah.
So our audience has doubled.
Yeah.
So
And,
anyway,
and
here we
listen,
go. We got to go.
The discussion continues at cleanradio.com. Like us, get our T-shirts. Talk to you next week.
Yay.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's clean with a K, cleantreatmentcenter.com.